Thanks for locking in with 77 Flavors of Chicago. We're your host, Dario.
And I'm Sarah, and I hope you're ready to learn with us.
Today, we are talking about the Chicagoan Magazine. But first, did you know that me and Sarah are the dopest people out here
Hey,
in Chicago? I didn't have,
you know what the fuck time it is.
I ain't had no trivia for this week. But welcome. I hope y'all doing well. This cold didn't freeze you out.
I hope you're having the day you deserve.
That's a slight. You know what I mean? Like hold on,
bruh.
that's a slight.
No, I'm just playing. I hope even if you're a shitty person,
damn,
something good is happening.
What is going on? We need the gunshot thing on here. These people didn't do nothing to you, or did they?
No, they did.
Or did you?
No.
Hey, not to bring up old shit, but remember when that lady said that?
Man, fuck that lady. What did she say?
She was talking shit. She was talking shit about you.
I don't even remember. That's how irrelevant she is.
I don't know why I kicked that. I know that's an unreleased audio piece that.
Yeah, because I went off.
You went the fuck off.
I'm so glad we took that out.
2 minutes, y'all. Sarah went off.
Don't come at me.
That was early on in the podcast.
We hee hee ha ha over here, but
don't
try me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't think it's sweet out here.
I am Arab after all.
Damn, don't do that. Hold on. Come on.
But also, just kidding. No, guys, I'm just kidding. Please, I'm not perpetuating any stereotypes.
No, don't.
Please.
No, we not.
Please.
You gotta laugh at your pain. But
I'm scared of rats and cockroaches.
Hey, rat.
I'm not about that life.
Speaking of rats, Chicago, what's going on with this rat hole, man?
Please get over it.
Yeah, you know, we love Chicago. Love that kind of shit.
We love a shtick.
We do. We love the what was it? The crocodile with the alligator.
Oh, yeah,
the Chicago, the chance to snapper.
And Hyde Park.
Humble Park. We loved him. We loved the Chicago rat hole. And then I saw a zoologist or somebody came out and said it might not be a rat. That might be a squirrel.
It looks very ratty though.
It looks very ratty, but like what? That's a big ass rat. And how did it?
I've seen rats that big.
Me too. But first of all, how did it get squished like that and make an indent?
Did you know that it's like from the 90s? Like it's not new.
That's from the 90s?
Yeah,
no, it ain't.
That's what. So what's funny is okay. The person that wrote that found it and first posted about it, that their post went viral.
Yeah,
I work with them.
Oh, what?
And the rat hole is from the 90s.
Get out of here!
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
It's just their post went viral.
Shit! The post went viral. The old OG post or
the OG post
from when, the 90s?
No, from a couple weeks ago.
So they
took a picture and posted it, and that post went crazy.
So people was walking past it.
Yeah, no one had ever looked at it. It's in the middle of the street.
We romanticized it. You know what I'm saying?
It's wild.
Yeah, that is.
We got better things to focus on.
If that's what Chicago.
I mean, if that's what brings you joy,
you know what I'm saying?
By all means, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Who am I to stunt your joy?
You know.
But
now we gonna have people all over the world.
Someone was petty enough to pour cement in it overnight, and
they dug it up.
And then someone dug it up the next day.
I think the neighbors came out and was like, nah.
This is so funny. This is so funny.
Yeah, that is.
But we shouldn't be making the news for a rat hole.
No, there's
better things.
There's way better things than.
But if it brings you joy, who the fuck am I to?
Right, we're not gonna ruin it.
To rain on your parade.
No, we're not gonna ruin it. But just listen to the podcast. We got more things you can do. You can romanticize.
Make us go viral. God damn it.
Yeah. Hey, look, y'all. People who follow us on social media, man. I just want to say I didn't freeze. It was. Was it cold? It was.
Dario, we post, if you don't follow us on Instagram, we post these little short videos, reels, with fun facts. We do it on all our social media. It's on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram.
Yeah.
And we posted one this last week where we actually filmed it that same week that it was freezing.
Yeah.
And Dario was outside and everyone was commenting just about how cold he looks.
Yeah.
As opposed to, because the Chicago did have a little shiver in it.
I did not. It did not have a shiver or nothing in it. Here's the thing.
It was cold.
I'll be honest.
It was cold as fuck.
So just some context for y'all, just so you can know your boy even more 2.5 years later. Here's the thing. I'm good in the cold. And granted, this was absolute.
I think good is generous.
I'm great in the cold. Okay, I'm great in the cold. I'm just going to. But the problem is when my hands are cold.
Yeah.
That's when my entire body starts to feel it.
I feel like somewhere a piece of information was put into my brain that if your hands, feet, or your head are exposed to cold, it cools down your body way faster.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm thinking if you're not wearing gloves, you're not wearing thick socks and a hat, you're going to be colder than if you wear those things.
Yeah.
So, but like you hate the cold. So I don't know what you're talking about. I'm great in the cold.
I am great in the cold. You know that.
You are like so pissy when it's cold out.
Oh, you mean attitude wise?
Yeah.
But like me and cold, I can deal with it. It's only when my weakness is my hands.
We just got to hear about it though. You deal with it, but you just keep talking shit the whole time. So I don't know what you mean by deal with it.
I mean, I can go out in the cold and I'll stand out there and be fine. That's what I mean. But my hands,
that's like, the problem.
My hands. Woo. So y'all, reason why I bring that up, I mean, y'all did come at your boy. You know what I mean? It was not crazy.
No,
not crazy.
one came
No
at
disrespect.
Yeah.
It was like, but this one lady, she sounded like my mama. I was like, God damn. She was like, go in the house and put some clothes on. I was like, okay, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
But your boy's fine is all I'm trying to say.
We live to see another day.
I was out in the cold again, y'all. So, and you know what? Here's the thing. Y'all saw me, but who you think is filming this stuff? So Sarah was out there in the cold too. Try that. Now that y'all want to.
And I'm from the desert.
You know what I'm saying? So you was really cold.
I should be on a camel somewhere. I should not be. I should not be here
with these.
I should be
racial epithets this episode.
I should be in the desert herding some camels. What the fuck am I doing in this country?
This is.
Well, it's really just the state.
Y'all, if y'all want to hear,
Midwest is brutal.
Midwest is unforgiving. Like this last cold was unforgiving.
But also, like, mind you, it does not get this cold in Jordan at all, ever.
No,
like ever. But it does go below freezing sometimes. Every few years we get a snow.
Y'all had the snow that y'all showed me.
We did. But like, if it rains, the city shuts down because we're like not made
for elements
for large amounts of precipitation.
Yeah. That's different.
So
that's different.
What was the highlight of your week?
That shit. Like honestly,
being outside in the cold.
Man,
That's
look,
the highlight.
This cold was just too much. It was
brutal.
It was too damn much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, hey, this is Chicago. We should know better. So I don't. In that sense, I don't complain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was.
You do complain though. So.
I do. I still gonna complain. Y'all probably like, y'all don't do shit with constructive with y'all week. No, I had photography gigs. Those are.
You met up
fun.
with some friends.
I did. Met up with some high school friends.
That's crazy that you have friends from that long ago.
Right, man. Look, we 40. I'm 40 now.
Yeah, high school for you was like 30 years ago.
I mean, you're not far off. It's 23 years. We talked about that too. This will be our 23-year anniversary. We're in our Jordan year of being out of high school. That's nuts. Yes. I mean, it was cool.
I've been out of high school almost 15 years.
That's cool. It's crazy to say 20 years doing something, anything. Like, that's crazy. I got friends that's 20 plus years. I got friends that's 30 plus years. We all turning 40 this year.
That's so great.
It is. They cool.
That's rare.
They're very rare. They're very rare.
I feel like I have maybe like one or two friends from high school max.
Yeah.
One friend that I'm friends with. A couple people that like if I'm in Jordan I'll hang out with, but I don't talk too often. But like zero, like none that are. I mean, Yasmin is like my closest.
She
high school friend, and we've known each other since we were 13. So.
I was about to give her whole address away. She's not here in the state.
She's in Seattle, yeah.
Oh, you can say that. Okay, I didn't want to even do that. But that's where our Seattle listeners come from. So appreciate y'all from out there in Seattle.
Maybe.
Yeah, we used to get a lot of. I haven't looked at that specific number in a while, but yeah, we got a lot.
Well,
you ready to get into it?
I'm ready to get into it.
Let's get tuned up. I got Lover Boy sparkling hard tea right here, strawberry lemonade flavor. It says "Kiss with green tea," and so here.
That means it has a little bit of caffeine in it, probably.
A little bit of caffeine. So your boy gonna be a little hyped up right here. Let's see. It's sparkling hard tea.
It's
so
it's like a seltzer.
4.2, like a Zima back in the 90s. Here we go, y'all. Ooh, it smells good.
Crispy.
It smells.
Yeah.
Ooh, this smells good. Smell that. Smell that.
Smell it.
Yeah, that smells good.
I can't. The smell.
She said,
man,
it smells good.
It smells like vodka. It's probably like vodka tea.
Okay.
All right. Pepsi
Ooh, that's good. That's good. I like it.
Yeah, I'm drinking Kirkland brand purified water.
Go ahead, Costco. Sponsor your boy and girl.
Yeah, for real.
Look at my pup just come all in my face and say, Dad, can I have some?
Can I have a sparkling hot,
yep.
Whatever the fuck you're drinking.
Hard tea.
All right, let's get into it today.
Yeah.
Before we start, so let's preface by saying that Chicago is a cultural hub. Okay, it's a cultural hub for not only the Midwest but the nation and dare I say the world. A lot of things started in Chicago.
Yeah.
And we know that. We've proven that over the last 2.5 years. You
Talk
guys know
that
that.
talk.
A lot of firsts happened in Chicago. A lot of things would not exist if it wasn't for Chicago. So confidently, I can say that it's a hub.
Talk that talk.
For all those things. Art, books, literature, obviously, because that's also books, music, architecture, theater, food, everything that you would classify as that. And there was once a publication that wanted to commemorate or bring to light these things, right? Which was titled Chicagoan was the name of the publication. The way we learned, my sister was like, if you don't give me credit, I'm outing you on the internet. So I will say that
family don't give a damn.
You know? She's like, I like the perks by association. I was like, that's fine. But so she likes like general art, and she likes like 20s art. She likes art in general, but she pins these things on Pinterest that she uses as wallpapers for her phone, and she often shares them with me. And she found these magazine covers that are super beautiful, very vibrant, very colorful, that she really loved. And so she sent them to me, and she was like, have you heard of this magazine called The Chicagoan? It doesn't exist anymore, but like I went down a rabbit hole. You guys should look into it. So we did. We looked.
Glad we did.
Yeah.
This was very interesting.
Very interesting. Go ahead, tell us what's the Chicagoan, Dario?
The Chicagoan was basically a magazine that did everything that Sarah talked about. Chicago culture, news, local personality. It was. Think of the New Yorker, which fun fact, New Yorker came out in I believe March or February of 1925. April. Of 25 was the New Yorker. And June 26, 1926, the Chicagoan came out. And this was one of those magazines around that jazz age, and it kind of had a vibe of, like I said, the New Yorker. But it was Chicago. It was something that was beautiful. You know what I mean? Like
super.
We'll talk about it. You know, here we go. We back to this little hiccups, but. It had its issues, right? You know what I mean, with the times, but for the most part, it was art, entertainment, culture. It was food. It was people and personalities around that time. It ran until 1935. So you think about that time, 26 to 35. We had coming out of the rolling 20s.
A lot going on post World War One. Almost like going into the Great Depression. There's a lot happening. A lot of like revitalization.
Bears. Sports is brand new.
Like World's Columbian Exposition.
Dang, that was. We had just came out of and
going to another one.
Going into
So to kind of preface why it's considered the forgotten magazine is because there's a professor at the University of Chicago, and he was at the, what's the name of the library that I can't pronounce?
The Regenstein.
Yeah. John, isn't it like John Regenstein?
Joseph.
There it is.
Yeah.
Joseph Regenstein.
Joseph Regenstein.
And the professor was in the library, kind of like going through the shelves, and he found a stack of these magazines that he'd never seen before, and pulled them out. Took a look at them, and he was like, what is this magazine? Like, I've never seen it. I've never heard of it. He's a history professor, so he was kind of surprised that he'd never seen it before. And he started doing some research down a rabbit hole, and he ended up writing a book called The Chicagoan. Actually, I'll tell you the exact name of the book, because you should definitely check it out. It's available at I got the copy from the public library, but it's called The Chicagoan, a lost magazine of the jazz age. Right? You can buy the book if you want to, but you can also pull the book out. It goes through the history. It goes through the covers. It has some some of the what was in the magazine. It is super, super cool. It has some of the cartoons. It talks about the contributors in detail to as much as he could, because there wasn't a lot of information about this magazine, because as he mentions in his book, he says not only were the contributors people that like didn't write about they didn't write about their experience writing there, but it's almost like there was no archives of the process of publication. Like they never wrote about how they did the research or how they came. Like it was just the physical magazines,
right?
And then the New Yorker shitting on us.
That, and that. So when we were doing this research and like going down our own rabbit hole,
Yeah.
I caught a feeling. You know what I mean? Like Sarah was here. I had to air it out for a little bit. And if you follow our Twitter and our stories on Instagram, I that was me who posted that, because I was like, man, I'm looking at this paper, this magazine editorial piece that came out that represented Chicago and like had our culture to tell people about us. And as we learned, there's no representation of Chicago culture, proper Chicago culture. You know what I mean? In these big things such as Apple News and other things with mass media outside of Chicago. Why is that when we had something like this?
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Now, before we go, and I'm gonna let Sarah keep on going. There's only 2 collections of these magazines, right? So after Neil Harris was the guy that wrote the book, when he found this, now after all these years, there's only 2 places you could find the actual magazines.
Yeah.
One is in the New York Public Library. The other one is at the University of Chicago Joseph Regenstein Library. So,
in their special collection.
Which is crazy that we don't talk about this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why do we have to always have like the media kind of talk about us and we don't do nothing about it? But here I go again on my soapbox.
For real.
This hard seltzer got your boy feeling saucy.
You've like had 3 sips.
Yeah, they gonna be like, bro, you sipping a Zima, stop it.
But yeah, I mean, this magazine came at a time where Chicago was kind of going through this Renaissance period.
Yeah.
The magazine itself kind of had multiple topics that it covered, right? Most of them like culture based, but the description goes, it ranged from analyzing gang dress code to reviewing opera openings and Picasso exhibits. So like everything that fell under the bucket of culture. And it came at a time where Chicago had, and this is a list from Neil's book, from the professor's book. He says Chicago had skyscrapers, opera houses, aquariums, planetarium, a railroad station, universities with campuses, museums, patriotic monuments, the world's largest fountain, the world's largest building, which at the time was Merchandise Mart, expanded parks, a shoreline drive, hotels, which included the world's largest, movie palaces like Balvin and Katz, golf courses, municipal stadiums, factories, and it still had reputational challenges.
That's crazy. All them worlds this, worlds that.
Literally, we were the best of the best when it came to all of these categories, and still had reputational challenges. And 100 years later,
that's crazy.
We're still kind of like suffering from the same thing.
Right.
And yes, of course, like, and there's a lot of, if you read this book, there's a lot of talk about like, yes, there's no denying that Chicago was going through these things, but also it was going through a lot of better things.
Right.
And the national focus was on things like Al Capone and like all of this stuff that was taking place, which no one is denying that it existed, but it also existed in other cities like New York and Philadelphia, but
somehow
Chicago was.
They just want to harp on, food is probably the one good thing you're talking to us about. But then, the horrible media. So here's the thing about it, because I don't want to keep on, perpetuating, what I mean? Like, the Chicagoan had, I think reason why I feel some type of way, because like, I know you're going to talk about it, but like it was a very diverse staff, I should say, that worked on the Chicagoan.
Yeah.
And, I wanted to kind of go over just a couple for right now, because this is actually really cool. The first editor of the magazine was Marie Armstrong Hecht. Excuse me. She was married. I'm sorry, y'all.
Stop drinking bubbly shit on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, because here's the thing. Y'all don't drink pop no more like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like my body
can't handle the gas.
Can't handle all these the bubbles and shit. So your boy be them pauses. It ain't the microphone.
Let's stop talking about your bodily functions.
Okay, sorry. And then the next dude was, before we move on to Marie Armstrong, from her, she was married, divorced, and then she got married again. I can't confirm this, to another Marie.
Oh.
So shout out to the LGBTQ community. Y'all got some representation. It's kind of the point I'm trying to make here.
Well, she couldn't have been married because that was illegal.
She couldn't have been, but at the same time, think about how Maybelline oh boy.
Yeah.
That around that time.
Long term.
Yeah.
Domestic partner.
Yes. So there's the first representation. Here's another dope representation. Richard Atwater, who was born Frederick Atwater, here in Chicago. He attended the University of Chicago, and this is a really cool thing about him. He and his wife co-authored the book Mr. Popper's Penguins,
right?
Which was a slight screen adaptation to Jim Carrey's movie in 2011.
Yeah,
boy, come on now.
Cool.
Yeah,
there's the they say the reason that the magazine was kind of like its success and somewhat its downfall was because it was, first of all, it had a ton of contributors. It says at some point in the span of 7 months, it had over 460 contributors.
God damn.
And mind you, they were doing an issue every 2 weeks. It was about 36 pages. Sometimes it was longer. Triple columned cartoons that took up mostly a full page sometimes. All of the contributors were very well educated. They were either socialites or authors or artists or people that are like up and coming in that area. They all spoke multiple languages, and it was a ton of like reviews. So they reviewed plays, they reviewed restaurants. So it was a lot of like editorial pieces, but at the same time, it was like a ton of misspells in there. It wasn't edited very, very closely the way the New Yorker was. Right. So it was a lot more casual.
I wonder if that was because we were trying to compete with the New Yorker.
Partly.
I wish they had some.
But they had people like Wallace Rice, who was the designer of the Chicago flag. Dorothy Aldis, who wrote children's books and also was the daughter of the Tribune editor. So there was a bunch of people. They had a travel column, which was called Go Chicago.
Hey, okay.
So, there was a lot of young people that kind of brought this together. They were the people that like were in the know, that attended these things. But at the same time, before I go into like kind of the downfall, I don't know if you have anything else to.
I do. I have the people that you were talking about. The so Sarah basically said that there were a diverse range of people there, and I do want to go over some of those people because the artists that she's talking about. The Wallace Rice thing is pretty dope. The guy with Chicago flag. Because if you don't know, go back to our Chicago flag episode. Take a listen to that because we talk about how he even got that off the ground and his thought process. So he would be a nice artist to have working on that program. Your mic just said, nah, not today. Yeah. So first person is E. Sims Campbell. Now, this
significant.
He was from St. Louis, born in St. Louis, and he moved to Chicago. And he went to Inglewood High. He went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. And he also worked for the New Yorker, Cosmopolitan, Ebony, Playboy. And then I believe, don't quote me, I think The Life of a Negro. He wrote for that. He was, get this, y'all, the first black cartoonist with national recognition.
Yeah. And he created the mascot for Esquire.
Esky. He created him. Go ahead. Both of us get a coin for that one more time. I'm back to my coin heavy shit.
Yeah,
you know what it is?
real.
When I start drinking,
I know.
Them coins.
Loose with the coins.
I'm loose with the change. So yes, he was a huge contributor for artistry. And also for the black community. First black cartoonist, which is dope.
I will say a lot of the contributors were women and some black people.
Yeah.
Not a lot. Some black people, some women. Obviously majority white men because,
Yeah.
Do you have anything?
I do have plenty
Tell
more.
us.
Albert Carreno, he was Mexican born. Get this. He was a caricaturist and a cartoonist, and he worked, eventually he moved to New York, and guess what? He worked for Marvel.
Oh, wow.
Boom. Look at Chicago breeding this type of thing.
A lot of the artists that came from the University of Chicago or the Art Institute. A ton came from the Art Institute, and a ton went to New York or the Tribune. There was a lot of. It's almost like It's almost like a little incestual family.
Yeah.
All these publications, like the Tribune, the New Yorker, the New York, like a couple of the New York magazines, the Tribune, the Sun, like all of those people just jumped around. And they kind of, a lot of them got their start at the Chicagoan.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Here's the point I'm trying to make, and I'm gonna show you as we continue. It just further shows that Chicago was at the forefront of all this. You know what I mean? Like we literally are like the breeding ground for a lot of art and culture.
Right.
Let me continue. Nat Carson from Switzerland. From Switzerland, he went to Chicago public schools, way when he was a child, and then also went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. Yeah. But then Raymond Katz, from Hungary, also went to the School of the Art of Institute of Chicago. Isidore Klein, check this one out. Isidore Klein eventually not only worked for the Chicagoan, but worked on Betty Boop.
Wow.
Popeye and Mighty Mouse.
Wow. Oh, that's cool.
All these people worked for the Chicagoan.
Yeah.
And then here I got Boris Rydell. He created the first cover for the Chicagoan.
Yeah. And a lot of people were kind of like, when that first cover came up, a lot of people were kind of confused because it looked almost like a psychedelic city. Mm-hmm. It was, most of the colors used in print were blue, right? But this cover was kind of like a colorful sky. It's not really a skyline because it's almost as if you're standing in the middle of the downtown and all these built skyscrapers are around you. Some finished, some unfinished. So a lot of people were like, "What is that?" Like when you saw it in the newsstands, it just looked like different and like colorful, and so it caught people's attention.
Yeah, and that's why I think this one kind of sucks, because we should have something today that represents. And when we looked at this, the first thing I did was I grabbed my iPad. I was actually on my iPad for the notes already. Yeah. So I grabbed it and I went to the news app, and I know I can subscribe if I want to the New Yorker, because I'm petty. I don't do it. Yeah, no. You know what I mean? But I just looked, and I had looked before. I knew the answer before I even had to do this. I looked, I was like, is there anything that represents Chicago culture besides us? You know what I mean? That really talks about our scene here, right? And it made me feel away.
And mind you, there's a lot of stuff locally. Like if living in Chicago, if I want to find that information, I can. Yeah. There's a ton that I can, but it's almost like that information is not shared nationally.
Right, and we have to.
There's so many great people doing such great work in the city, but they're not recognized nationally.
There's so many people that have already done great things for the city.
And we have a ton of friends that work in media that put out great work, that cover great stories, that share a lot of Chicago culture, but it's always like the New York, the LA, you know what I mean? Like, why, bro? Why?
It's crazy.
Have you been to New York lately?
You know what I'm saying?
Have you been to LA? That shit.
I will say, shout out to New York. Y'all are.
But I'm just saying, like Chicago isn't second to any of those.
No, but you know who is second? Chicago, New York listeners. Chicago is number one.
I'm not
I know.
On New York.
I know you. I know you're not.
You don't need to leave Chicago to make it
anywhere.
And we don't need to ignore Chicago on the national scale when it comes to arts and culture and these accomplishments. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not taking away from any of these other cities.
I ain't gonna lie. Sarah making me feel kind of way. This episode, you make me feel like ever since we switched up the little mojo here, where we kind of go back and forth with the history.
I prefer it.
I gotta see it. Look across the way. I'm like, what's going on? What's good?
Okay, relax.
I know. I'm trying.
I was gonna say this is PG. It's not. But
we got that E on there.
No one wants to hear this shit.
Nah, hey, shit. I know you don't. But anyway, continue.
But so to kind of get into before the downfall, really, just a couple more details. So in 1925, 2/3 of the population of Chicago was immigrants or children of immigrants, right?
Makes sense. First, second generation.
Right.
Gotcha.
And the Chicagoan ignored those people.
Ooh.
So it really catered for the very highly educated, wealthy white population. It didn't necessarily say we're only focusing on white, but because
you ain't got to say it, you just don't include.
Exactly. It did not include stories of like Black culture. It didn't include stories of Black music, or mind you, a lot of immigrants were like Polish, Russian, German. None of that was in there. We are just off of the Prohibition, so there was a lot of German Catholic hate going around.
Look at the parody of that podcast.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So it was mostly for rich white people, and occasionally they would share like a culinary story of another culture, but really, or a cartoon that was disrespectfully racist.
You know what's crazy is because if you all follow the lineage of our podcast, and you kind of remember some of these dates, we hope you learned something on this thing.
Yeah, for real.
But you would know 1925 to 36, Chicago going through a lot.
It is going through a lot.
We're going through a lot right now. We're getting a majority of our population. We are steady climbing now.
Yeah, I think we're at 3 million at this point.
We're close to 3 million. We hit 3 million in the 60s. We peaked at 3 million in the 60s. So we 30 years removed. But what we do have going on is the Great Migration. We're in the midst of the Great Migration.
And a lot of these factories are opening up. So a lot of people are moving to Chicago for work.
Yeah,
so
right.
A ton of these manufacturers are opening up here. You have the automobile industry starting up. You have the stockyards. Well, the stockyards were kind of falling off. Yeah, but the railroad industry, like all of that stuff is booming. Yeah. So a lot of people are coming in from other countries.
Bronzeville is just going crazy right now. You know what I'm saying?
People coming from other countries, people coming from the South, you had from other states moving to Chicago for opportunity.
So you got a lot to talk about.
A lot.
You got a lot. You got content. You know what I'm saying?
In 1927, they had about 10,000 readers that were subscribed. The subscription it started off as at $5 a year. Then it was $3. Then it was $2 as we hit the Great Depression. In July 18th of 1931, 2 years later, after 1927, so 1929, they had about 18,000 subscribers. So not an insane growth,
big jump,
but a decent
growth. That first year was decent,
But to give you an idea, Esquire went from 100,000 copies in its first one, and then 400,000 in its second.
Stop.
Yeah, but Esquire was Esquire for men. It was. Right. It also included.
And at that time,
it included the Black community in some of its stuff, so it wasn't exclusionary.
Oh,
right.
God, man, we got work to do.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Now, July 18th, 1931. There was a publisher's announcement. It notified the readers that the magazine was now monthly instead of every 2 weeks. And, the Century of Progress was just about 2 years away now.
Right.
So people stayed as subscribers because they're looking forward to that Century of Progress coverage,
that issue.
Basically,
that
right?
issue.
There was the editor was, I'm going to butcher his name, but it's Quigley.
Quigley. Yeah.
Right. So he took over a few years into the magazine, and he kind of like made it what it was. He really mirrored that New Yorker recipe. He took the ingredients and kind of like wanted to go after that. And so he was the life of the magazine, and he suddenly decided to turn over a lot of his editorial stuff to someone else, and so he wasn't as involved anymore. So it went from a lot of like editorial pieces, a lot of like high culture. Of course, there was like a lot of society and shopping and things. It went from so much of that coverage to being like beauty, shopping, wedding pictures, pet shows, polo matches.
So we was out of touch,
way
really.
Less editorial.
So it was just out of touch. You didn't have there was no conversation to it. It
wasn't.
It was more like, oh, look at this. I want that.
Yeah.
I want, and at the same time, we going through the magazine thing.
Right,
so we already got that.
And mind you, now you have the Marshall Field
Right.
catalogs
That's
and
what I'm
stuff
saying.
like
Sears,
that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
so they focused more on that. And then as you hit the Great Depression, it was harder and harder to avoid the political conversation because they were never political. They were always arts.
It was about the
but
people.
You had to kind of like go into, now they started publishing stories about homeless people sleeping in the park or
here we go.
Yeah. So there
not that I'm saying that in the sense of why let's not.
It was hard to avoid that conversation because a lot of it was like a national thing. This Great Depression that was happening.
Right.
There was also, once the editor kind of not stepped down but stepped away a little bit, there was no consistency in style. There was a lot more photography in the magazine than there was written, but the photography styles were very different. They did not match. So it felt like every issue was super different. Like nothing was consistent. The styles in there didn't make sense.
It didn't have no identity.
It did not have an identity anymore. It did well in the early 30s because of the fair coming up, but and they started having a lot of alcohol ads in there because Prohibition was over. So now they're like pushing that. The editions were up to 80 pages. They went from 36 to 80 pages
of
once a
just
month.
of and lacking the communication.
Substance, yeah.
Substance. Wow. Yeah. So it was an advertisement book. It was an ad
Basically,
book. It was an ad book.
Basically, and it went. The Great Depression took over, and it's kind of like took its toll on them. They
And
started writing about the, homeless sleeping in the park and the dramatic collapse of real estate. And April 1935 was their last issue, and they stopped with no announcement. They just suddenly stopped.
Wow.
And then Esquire came around, and it kind of like removed any hope of them coming back because Esquire was so big, it was not.
Yeah.
It was impossible to
I
compete.
mean, 100,000 to 400,000, 4 times the amount.
Yeah, but
That's
people
nuts.
missed it. Like people wanted it, and
We still miss it right now. You know what? I feel like
we miss a version of it. I wouldn't want it to be the magazine that it is, where it like excludes
Right.
a ton of
I was
people.
gonna say that. Yeah.
I like the idea of having something that like celebrates the culture, but it got to celebrate all the culture. It can't just
And
it can't just celebrate.
Here's the thing: Chicago got a lot of culture.
North.
We got a lot of culture.
A ton.
That's
A
the thing.
ton.
We have a.
Are you joking?
We have a music scene. We have a
Theater, arts.
art for sure. We got a fashion scene.
Super.
We have a fashion scene.
Yeah.
But you know why Chicago fashion scene would be so dope to like talk about is because we actually have a winter and a fall.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we got a winter
And
fall.
we have a ton of local designers.
Man, look,
that
right.
like work so hard here that hopefully will grow someday. But like there's a ton of local shows that you can go to. When I used to
sister be involved.
Yeah, when I used to bartend, we would bartend fashion shows all the time. The designers would come together and they would put on these shows that were incredible.
Call to action, y'all. Help Chicago get out of this internal email system that we have going on. Like somehow we got to get back to this national stage of our culture. You know what I'm saying?
And I think
our culture can't be this violence that y'all want to y'all, but like that people want to push. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's like the idea that we have to leave to make it.
Yeah, that's
that
ridiculous.
gotta stop.
That's ridiculous.
That's got to stop. And unfortunately, that just takes. I mean, it's been 100 years and it's still the same narrative. So I don't know.
Same.
I don't have solutions. I'm not a politician, and I'm not like a socioeconomist.
We got ideas, but we ain't got no solution. I mean, we got ideas. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we all in
I'm
the
not
same.
an urban planner,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know these things. I'm just I guess you criticize the things you love because you want them to be better, right?
That's a theme. You say that a lot on the podcast, which is good.
I mean, it's
the truth.
true.
It's the truth.
It's like honestly,
you done got $10 on this.
If you didn't love something, you just shit on it and keep moving.
Sure did.
But I think like celebrating the wins, but also recognizing that we can do better.
And on that note, that's a goddamn bar.
Well, if you enjoyed this week's episode, and I hope you did, please go check out Neil's book. It's at all the Chicago Public Libraries. You can check it out. They have multiple copies. You can watch our YouTube video about this, where you can visit the library and share this with someone you love. That's the best way to support us. If you did not enjoy this episode,
man, look, I don't know what to tell you.
That's between you and your God.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, buddy. Peace.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and we hope you loved it.
And if you could, please follow us on social media at 77 Flavors Shy on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter.
If you have any ideas or deep dives that you'd love us to do, please contact us at media@77flavorsshy. That's the number 77 flavors and shy for Chicago.com.
If you like visuals, please subscribe and follow and watch us on our YouTube channel at the same thing, 77 Flavors Shy, or search 77 Flavors of Chicago.
If you would like to support us monetarily, go ahead and click that Buzzsprout link in the description of this episode.
And as always, we gonna see you next week. Peace.